First, let me go to this screen, and then I'll do this. Wow.
You didn't have it recording at all, at least?
Hold on. The intro is going now, just wait. Music is a vehicle that can take you anywhere you want to go, anytime you want to be there. No matter what you do, why you do it, who you choose to do it with or for, music will ensure that the moment is always just right. The saxophone is the luxury sports model of all vehicles that insists you experience the ultimate groove that sets the mood for whatever you choose. Mighty Horn Music presents the COVID Concert Series with saxophonist Travis Bridges, live from the Hollywood Home Studio. Smooth jazz, top 40, R&B, inspirationals, and more. Thank you for tuning in. You are now on a musical first-class journey to anywhere you want to be. Good evening, and good evening, everybody. Hello, Mighty Horn Music is live from the Hollywood Home Studio in another room, that is. And this is a spin-off from the COVID Concert Series. It's simply entitled Swym, Pwym. It's the Wednesday night edition. And Swym, Pwym is an acronym. Swym, Pwym is an acronym for Say What You Mean and Play What You Mean. I was talking earlier when I thought I was on, and I was saying that a good friend told me that it's not a synonym or an antonym, but it's an acronym. And Say What You Mean is what I'm doing now. I'm talking and I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's really true. And Playing What I Mean is what I would do on Sunday nights when I would come on my live stream, the COVID Concert Series live from the Hollywood Home Studio, which is on a little small hiatus. But I promise you, if you are a follower of mine, I'm going to come on one Sunday night from a totally different part of the world. And it's going to be hot because I have been ready to do a live stream, but I'm going to have to go away and set up my studio again. And when I come back, I'm going to be hot. So get ready for that. But anyway, what happened earlier, I came on and for 30 minutes, I thought I was on. And if you're in the chat room with me still, I see Kimberly was with me and Christine and R. Monk was there. And they probably saw my lips moving, but realized that I was not live. So if you are here now and you notice that I was on and I was just, not picking my nose, but I was talking and you was like, well, probably why is he not on? It's because I wasn't on. You were just there waiting, but then nobody said anything. Well, what happened was I had a conversation with two people, and I have two people on the line now, and hopefully they'll give me some more of their time to go to finish what we were talking about. Caller 1 and caller 2, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so listen, why don't, since you were on, why don't you do me a small favor and tell our guests, I have at least 4 people that are here. What that means is there's at least 8 watching and or listening. So would you guys, as my special guest, caller 1, since you were first, would you be so kind to share with the audience what we were talking about tonight? I would really appreciate that, and then you could be the rock star for a few minutes. So caller 1, share with the audience what we were talking about.
I don't know what to say.
Okay, that no problem. I tell you what, we'll let caller 2, and if caller 2 can't do it, then I'll just step up and do my job. Caller 2, can you share with the audience what we were talking about when we thought we were on live? Just give a briefing of where we were and where we are now.
We were on a brief conversation about, I guess, why people have a hard time, talking about the truth, and also just what your goal is with doing this live stream, or what you're getting at, and I guess part of it was what was it, that a lot of conflict and stuff could be avoided if people just had the patience and time to listen, hear each other out and talk, and take the time to listen to the truth, whether they might not like it. Am I close?
Oh, no, you're closer than close. And I'm just going to go ahead and add to that. So get ready, caller one. You're going to have to give your version of that. I started and I was on for about 10 minutes just talking before I even got you guys on. And I was on a roll and I was saying some really cool stuff. So I don't know if I'll ever be able to duplicate that, but I'm going to do my best. And I was talking about the truth. The truth involves realization. It involves information. It involves, did I say analyzation already? Yeah, it involves analyzation, and you have to process what you find in terms of evidence to get to the truth. Because I started by saying, sometimes I would ask people in an interview, is there a difference between the truth and facts? And they'll say, well, no, the truth is facts, and the facts is truth. They're the same. And when you analyze it with the hairline, you find that, something can be factual, but not necessarily truth. You have to you analyze facts in order to get to the truth. And one of my favorite examples is, one of my favorite movies, The Green Mile, and even the Central Park 5. They had information that they were able to prove based on what they were presenting. They had some facts, but they weren't true. So, there's proof within itself that just because something is a fact doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And it involves getting to the bottom of, it involves analyzing, for the truth and taking the time to get to the truth. As I was saying, sometimes people don't, I think it was, well, I won't say his name, but I heard a preacher say once, the truth is unbelievable. And we have a tendency as human beings to gravitate towards pleasure and avoid pain. It's natural. We want things that feel good, sound good, that are good to us, may not be good for us, and we avoid those things that may not feel good. For instance, I gave an example that I like ice cream and cake, but and it's good, but I don't necessarily like doing push-ups. And if I want to maintain a certain level of health and fitness, I'm going to have to do one more than the other. So if I just get all the pleasure and no pain, that's not a good balance. But with everything in moderation, if I do some exercise and then have a little ice cream and cookies and cakes, then I'll be okay. So back to my point, I am convinced that if we take the time, if we listen and analyze the truth, we can have less confusion. And I do have two callers on the line. Caller one, are you ready to give our audience where we were, or am I rattling too long for you? And it's okay if I am, because I'm.
Give me, what do you want me to? You just want me to? No, he already answered what we were talking about. He answered it very well.
Okay, so I've got our monk in here, and I've got my sister Robin. She's watching, and I'll bring them up to speed one more time. I'm talking about getting to the bottom of the truth, why people don't want to hear the truth, and as caller number one said, it doesn't fit their narrative, it doesn't make them feel good, and the truth sometimes does hurt. And we were talking about the truth hurts because we don't want to hear the truth. So I'm just going to leave it right there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. You've been so wonderful. I do have another caller that I'm going to get on. If you have anything to say on your way out, by all means, do say it. Otherwise, I'll let you go and I'll tell you thank you for agreeing to be with me on the last minute. And I promise you, this is kind of new. It's new for me. I have some experience in radio, and in my radio days, I was considered, successful. And I've been out of it for a long time. I can still resurrect those skills. And I believe I'm going to be okay with what's been placed on my heart. And that is bringing awareness to how we listen, how we pay attention, how we understand, and how we convey what it is we're trying to express. So thank you, too, for being with me. I'll go ahead and let you go, and we'll chat another time, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, sounds good.
All right, y'all be good. Bye. Good night. Oh, there was two callers that I had on the line. If you're just joining me, I'm kind of just joining me, too. This live stream comes on at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and I was actually on preview, but I hadn't gone live yet. So I was talking for at least a half hour, and it was going pretty good. I had made some pretty good points in expressing myself, but I wasn't live. I do have another caller that's standing by that I'm going to go to. But before I do that, I want to talk about my purpose for being here. My name is Travis Bridges, and this live stream is simply entitled Swym Pwym. It's Say What You Mean and Play What You Mean. It's an acronym for what I want to bring awareness to. Oftentimes we have chaos going on in our lives, and we don't take the time to examine what the chaos is, because it doesn't necessarily fit what we want. And I'm trying to find myself with whatever I have left of this wonderful life that I've been fortunate to have, to try to analyze situations without adding my personal my personal input. You know, when we're trying to get to the truth, sometimes how we feel can affect, truth and reality. So again, I'm just, finding a way to analyze and find the truth and be okay with what I discover. So again, Robin, thank you for hanging out. Christine, I appreciate you. Kimberly, thank you also. I'm going to get my other caller on and just chat for a few minutes. I have less than 15 minutes, and I'm going to see how this pans out. Again, this is Swym Pwym. It's a little new for me, and I have some ideas of how I'm going to format it a little bit better, but right now I'm just trying to make sure that my purpose and my points are clear. And I'll get my other caller on, and we'll talk about my purpose and my point. So here we go with my third caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
Not bad at all. Were you watching the live stream at 9?
I came on at 9, but I didn't see anything. I kept waiting, thinking that something would happen. It says waiting for Travis Bridges, but
Well, that would be me.
we didn't know you were on.
Well, let me tell you what happened. Maybe you heard me after I got on. I came on not realizing that I wasn't on, and I just kicked the doors in, and I was wide open. I was on fire, and I introduced myself, and I talked about who I was and why I was here, and I had some good examples of listening and paying attention and examining and understanding the difference between facts and truth and how they differ and how they can be misleading. And then I got one caller on the line, and after about 7 or 8 minutes, I got another call, and then I put 2 callers on, and we were just rocking and rolling until I looked down at my gauge to realize that we were not on. So it was 31 minutes in, and I was on good behavior, not picking my nose or not touching my face or doing anything like that. I was doing pretty good and wasn't even on. So they agreed to hang out with me a little bit after we went on, and I'm going to be obedient to time, so I only have 15 minutes to go, and I will not let that happen ever again. So let's just keep moving. Do you understand? I know you are a faithful follower of what I'm doing. Are you able to give me your take on what you believe my purpose is? And let's see, how do I want to ask you this question? Do you understand what Swym Pwym is about and why I'm here, based on what you've been able to observe over the past few weeks or months?
Yes, I believe I do.
Are you able to expound on that and just, for my audience and for me too, because I want to make sure I'm on the right track with, what I'm trying to convey.
Well, I think you've taken it on as a mission to analyze how people listen to what's being said, what they hear is actually being said, and their understanding of what is being said. And oftentimes, we wind up being two ships in the night, where we don't hear or listen to exactly what the other person has said or hear what the other person has said, and we're not communicating directly.
Okay.
And I believe you want to make a point of how And why that is, mostly because emotions, thoughts, feelings, beliefs get in the way.
Okay, I have two people. Virginia Nicholson is asking what the topic is, and I kind of want to listen to her. Hey, Anthony Morrow, thanks so much for hanging out with me. R. Monk is still with me. Christine Robin Bridges is here. Kimberly Covington is still in the house. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Virginia, I'm going to answer your question. The topic has to do with the reason I'm here. The YouTubers are taken to the airwaves long before COVID, but there was a serious rise in YouTubers and social media people who are have something to say. Some things are interesting, some are not, and what's interesting for me may not be for someone else, and vice versa. But as far as my little 2 cents, I am embarking upon bringing awareness to how we listen and how we hear and how we process what we hear and how we analyze it for facts that can and will lead to the truth, and how we accept the truth based on our expectations. So I guess that would be a long topic, and I wished I could condense it, but it's not a one topic. It's just more of a subject than anything else. I want to bring awareness to paying attention to how we hear and being okay with, for lack of a better word, either being wrong or misunderstanding what someone either says or what they mean. If we are offended by what someone says and we don't know that person to be offensive, we may either need to check how we're processing it, or we may need to check what's actually being said. So I hope I answered your question, Virginia, in regards to what the topic is. Jennifer Thorne is in the house. Hey, Jennifer, how are you doing? So back to my point. If you would like me to analyze a situation or chat with me about something to analyze, you can do so by sending me an email to travisbridges2@aol.com. That's Travis Bridges and the number 2. I believe I have the gift to analyze. I've been working on it for a long time, and it started with me, having some issues of myself, going back and analyzing, having self-therapy, I call it, to find some things about myself that I really didn't like, some things I didn't know. And as I began to realize those things about myself, I started to realize that, okay, you have to be okay, man, with being honest with yourself and telling yourself, the truth, and not basing, what you want to hear and how you want to feel with what you actually discover. So back to my point, and back to you, caller number 3 now. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think that it's I'm making a good point, or am I just blowing off steam? Again, I say I don't want anyone to prove me wrong, but I'd like for someone to actually tell me what's wrong with analyzing. If we feel vexed about something, we have to examine ourselves for why. I was talking earlier about, I believe, and this is just my belief, and if I'm wrong, someone can actually address that, but I believe naturally we were created, and peace is within us. We're created with peace, and we invite chaos based on what we think, what we dwell on, and the things that we say to ourselves, and what we practice, what we rehearse, and how we view things. So, what do you think about my purpose in analyzing and looking for the truth and reality? Do you think it's worth pursuing? Am I wasting time?
No, I don't think you're wasting any time. I think you've been able to hear, see, and understand and observe how people hear, don't hear, how they listen and don't listen, and how they insert their emotions into facts, truths, principles that can absolutely be proven. And when you don't like what you hear, see, or think you've heard, you allow your emotions to get involved and you interject them. So that's where the chaos comes in. So I believe that observation is something you're trying to address and help people communicate and bring better communication.
So how important is it that we take the time to analyze what we're encountering? You know, if you walk away from any situation and you're not at peace, either you don't know or you don't understand. And if you don't understand, you should want to know. And if you know, you should maybe want to explain for someone to understand. Of course, we have to pick our battles, and we can't be all day going back and forth with situations and people, and we have to know when to say when and when to bail out, of a situation. And that just involves, I don't want to use the word common sense, but, reason. So yeah, it's important to want to do that. So let me just finish with this at AOL.com. I have moderators, and I think my moderator is taking off tonight. So anyway, Virginia Nicholson, you understand where we are? Are we cool? I only have like 7 more minutes to go. Caller number 3, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Anything you want to say in closing? This is still kind of new for me. I'm not shy, and I'm not embarrassed at even some of the mistakes that I make. One of the biggest phobias and fears is getting in front of people, and I realize that, according to the numbers, there's only 8 people listening and watching right now, but by the end of the week, sometimes 20 or 30 people have viewed at least some part of my live stream, and I know the potential of where I believe I'm going with what I'm bringing awareness to. So it doesn't bother me that I'll come on for 30 minutes and not even be live, or I'll stumble over some of my words, or I may not even have on some of the best cologne whenever I'm on live. I do have a purpose and a point, and I believe if I continue to chop at it, that it will catch on. And I believe people will start to understand how we can do better at how we hear, how we listen, how we process, and how we can find peace even in the middle of chaos. I believe it's what is intended for us as human beings. And if we're open to it, I believe we will, experience that. And I'm convinced that it is what is intended for us as souls. You agree? Caller 3, do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I just think that for the most part, it's very hard for 2 people to walk away from a discussion that, and both parties be completely okay with what happened, with what transpired. I know that you believe that it's possible. I think it's probably a lot more work that has to be done to make that happen.
Yeah, and not everybody's in the same place. As I wake up every day and I realize, sometimes when I have an interaction with someone, I realize, something just happened just yesterday. And the moment I realized that I may have been out of order, I corrected myself, and I had to, kind of humble myself and fix that situation. That can't happen often because sometimes you can do damage, and then you have to be responsible for what comes out of your mouth. And I'm getting better. I'm reading a book that a good friend of mine bought for me called Don't Drop the Mic from Bishop T.D. Jakes. It's a good book, so if you're looking for something to read, get it. It's a good book. And I'm learning how to better communicate and be more patient with people that may not have discovered what I've discovered. And I really think I'm on to something. I've come a long ways. I was that little fat kid who was always stressed, always worried, always wanting to do good, and always wanted to please people. And whenever I wasn't happy, I worried and stressed about it for far too long. And I just kind of got tired of it. So when I see my progress, especially within the last 1 to 3 to 5 years, and I encounter someone that may not be where I am, it causes me to want to be patient with them, especially if it's someone that I know and I'm dealing with one-on-one. I don't mind being patient and repeating the same thing so that someone can get it, because if someone is vexed, either they don't know or they don't understand. And if they don't understand, they should want to know. There's no reason why we should ever have any day in with our souls not being at peace. And if we're open to the truth and we examine facts for truth, it's always there. The cream always rises to the top. And if we're willing And if we're patient enough and if we're open to it, we can always find that place of peace because we have it within us. The reason we don't sometimes is because of our own thoughts and the things we repeat that are not true. And one of my favorite books talks about focusing on things that are lovely and true and of a good rapport and thinking on those things and how they can bring about peace. And you can do that in the middle of any kind of disagreement. It just involves wanting to and being okay with what we discover. We have just 2 minutes left. Any closing words before we go? We're only 30 minutes in, and I promise, as I said, it's going to get better. Anything you want to close with what you've heard over the past few weeks, months, or tonight that maybe you've learned yourself, or anything that you've grown in terms of being at peace with what is?
Well, I can tell you that by listening to your show and listening to what you're trying to convey to all of us is that we need to be better listeners. And as we listen, we need to find out how much of our own personal feelings are involved and how we evaluate the facts. So I am becoming a better listener. It's not easy.
No, it's not. Virginia Nichols says you're doing great and much understanding is needed. I need this information. And Robin says she agrees with the caller and said the caller nailed it. So you get kudos. If I had my sound effect or a big audience, I'd have everybody clap right now. But again, I'm going to go ahead and close. Thank you, caller number 3. I appreciate you. I'm going to let you go with my 1 minute that I have left. Have a good night, and thanks again for agreeing to join me at the last minute. I appreciate it. I'll send you a check one day, okay?
Okay, I'll be waiting.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Again, in closing, this has been another edition of Swym, Pwym. Say what you mean, play what you mean. I'm Travis Bridges. I'll be back next Wednesday night, and soon, and very soon, I'm going to be cranking up my Sunday night COVID concert series. I'm sure by then I'm going to change the title. It'll be based on the COVID concert series, but it'll be something different. But I'd like to leave a thought with you. The truth is unbelievable, and the truth only hurts if you're not open to the truth. That's something that I've heard, all my life. People say, oh, the truth hurts. It's just a slang, but there's some truth even in it. The truth can be painful, but it doesn't really hurt. And it's only painful and it only hurts if we're not open to it. And we should be open to the truth because the truth is pure. And the truth, according to what I believe, will make you free. And there's nothing like being free. And sometimes we have to be okay with what we discover when we examine facts and information. It can be, again, husband and wife, brother and sister, even neighbors have to sometimes come together and hash things out and be okay with what we discover as we examine. So I'm going to leave that thought with you. It's what I'm going to try to bring awareness to, being okay with just listening, not being so quick to get mad because we don't get what we like or what makes us feel good. And if you find yourself not liking a situation, examine it for the truth and understanding and see how you feel after that. I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you being with me. I really, really, really do. As you make your way through the rest of the week, find somebody that you need to say, I love you to, and don't just say it, but show it to them. Till next week, you be good and take good care of yourself now, okay? Good night.